Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. I have here lovely Lylian. She is a seasoned dating and relationship expert with a focus on harnessing feminine energy. She empowers single women to navigate their dating experiences with confidence, allure, and authenticity. Through her comprehensive programs, Lylian leads her clients on a transformative journey, addressing and healing the barriers that hinder them from experiencing genuine love and, of course, intimacy. Thank you so much, Lillian, for joining me today. It's a pleasure.
I am so excited. Thank you so much for having me. This is going to be a really, really exciting interview. I can feel it.
Oh my gosh. And once you feel it, then you just know. You're like, okay, I feel it. I got you. So I was sharing with you about the feminine energy and how I was so much in my masculine energy because of the conditioning, because I was hated on in like elementary school for wearing skirts to school, but they weren't even mini skirts. They were just like long skirts because I was only in fifth grade and I got into fights because they're like, oh, you're too pretty. And I was like, I wasn't even thinking that. I just wanted to dress like a girl. When I was in kindergarten, I told my mom, no pants, no pants. I want to wear dresses only. And so I was always tapped into that energy until I was told, no, you're not supposed to look like this. No, you're not supposed to be doing these things to act feminine. No, you need to hustle and grind. No, 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 no. And I'm like, no. So yes, I was a tomboy then in sixth grade, and then up into then junior high, I started getting back into my original self. So anyway, I really wanted to get to know what you think, what feminine energy means to you.
Ooh, that's such a great question. And I love that how you were brought up. It has a lot to do with how we end up in relationships with our men and with ourselves too, right? How compassionate we are to ourselves, how loving we are to ourselves. And I find that a lot of us are confused with feminine energy. And so what I feel that feminine energy is not something that you can see, and this is why it's so confusing, because you don't see it, you can't touch it. It's something that you feel, and the being in this energy is it's really the being, right? Of the energies. There's the masculine and the feminine, and the masculine is the doer, is the one that gets the results done. And this is why society really loves this energy, because it gets the results. And that's what we get the awards, and we get all the the praise for all the masculine energy stuff. But feminine energy is so important as well, especially in your relationships. So for me, I feel like the feminine is like the playful side of you, the soft side of you, the warmth, all of that beautiful energy that you can't touch it. You just feel it. You feel it when a woman is in her feminine. You just feel it because she's giggly, she's fun. It feels really good to be around her. And that's what I feel. And at the end of the day, the ultimate definition that I would say feminine energy is to me, it's love. Love for myself, love for others, love for nature. And that's what I feel when I am very much in my feminine energy.
And I love that. And you're so right. When we're tapped into our divine feminine energy, it's like people they come to us whether they want to share like, hey, this happened to me today at work, can you give me some advice? Or even men are like, hey, what's your name? And even your children like, mom, can you give me cuddles? So that nurturing, that loving, that softness, that is definitely the feminine energy. And I think a lot of women these days have lost that, unfortunately, because of, just like I was sharing with you about my childhood and what had happened, we were conditioned not to act a certain way, be a certain way, because it wasn't what was normal in society, right? What are some ways that people can actually tap into that feminine energy?
Yeah, so there are many, many tools out there, but I feel like the most simple tools, or the simple things that you can do, that I practice, that I love practicing myself, is one is slow down. Slow down in your day. Sometimes we're rushing, and I get caught up with this as well, right? Sometimes we're rushing to get all this stuff done. And so we're very much in our masculine with our to-do list, right? We have so much to do, and especially like moms like yourself, you have so much more. But if you could just take a few minutes to slow down and give yourself some, space just to be, it's going to create a really beautiful energy within you. And you're going to feel that difference in yourself, in your energy when you interact with others. You're going to feel that um, shift, right, with how you relate with others. And the people that are that connect with you are going to feel it as well without you saying anything. Just slowing down. When I slow down with, when I'm in the presence of my husband, I slow down and I go deep into like a beautiful conversation, I can really feel him. And our connection is so much different than when I am up in my head, right? So
Mhm.
slow down. I think that's one of the easiest but very powerful ways of connecting with your feminine energy.
Yes, because it used to be like hustle and grind, hustle and grind, hustle and grind, especially in the corporate world. And then I notice a lot of, especially women, are leaving the corporate world because they don't want to hustle and grind anymore. They want to experience what they enjoy, their passions and everything. And even just being a mom at home, they probably miss being a mom at home. And I think 2020 allowed many mothers just to appreciate, well, maybe not always appreciate, because I'm sure the kids were giving them headaches too, at least for me, but really appreciate the family time. And then the husband, whether they were working or not working, they still at least felt like they were the provider. Now, there's always a lot of misconceptions about feminine energy. Do you come across any common ones at all?
Oh, absolutely, all the time. I get comments like it's weak to be in your feminine energy. You're teaching women to be submissive, all of these. And it's like, no, absolutely not. You actually have more power when you are in your feminine energy than when you're in your masculine. Like, I would never be able to force my husband to do anything, but I can inspire him to do so much more for me. So when I am in my feminine energy, I see it, I witness it with him, how he changes his way, his tone of voice, the way he connects with me.
Mm.
And the same thing happens to my clients as well. They come back to me and they're like, wow, Lylian, like this really worked. I was able to, communicate with my date. I was able to be in a different way. And it really works. And it's so powerful. It's not weak. It's not, we're not being weak by being in our feminine. It's actually, we're in our power.
Totally. We are in our power. And it's very interesting because we do influence once we are in that energy. And then, like with my husband, too, I'm either listening, or I always ask him, do you want me to be the listener or do you want me to coach you?
I love that.
So I can understand where he wants. And sometimes it's just, majority of times it's just to listen. So I just listen and I just, okay, like nodding my head. Yeah, uh-huh, sure. And a lot of it's like engineering stuff, so I don't understand, but at least I still am engaging with him. And that's what they want, is they want that somebody just to be there to listen. And I find that they
Absolutely.
love that stuff. They love that stuff.
Yeah. And they are like, you're allowing him to be the man, right? By listening to him and allowing him to kind of pour and share with you how he's feeling. Yet he's still the man and he still knows how to solve his problems, how to fix it, right? So you are in the feminine there, just like giving him the space, really witnessing him, right? And really connecting with him emotionally rather than mentally, right? So that's a beautiful thing that you're doing with your husband. I love that.
Yeah, he's such a sweetheart. It wasn't always like that. Trust me. This is my second marriage. My first marriage was different because I wasn't in my feminine energy. I was like the provider, and I didn't cook. I really wasn't cleaning. He was the one cleaning and cooking, and I was the go hustler, which is fine that the men cook and clean whenever, if they want, But for me, it was like I didn't feel like I was in my role, and a lot of alcohol and partying was in taking place. So I felt like I was living like this false reality, and like an illusion, kind of like living, until I got sober. And then I'm like, oh, this is not what I want. This isn't going to work, because he wanted to continue partying and drinking and doing whatever. And I'm like, no, I don't want to do that anymore. So I had to take a different path, which then I went to a mentor who is a mindset coach. Her mentor, who is actually her man, is focusing on relationships and the masculine and feminine energy. And so I actually studied both of them, and then saw how they interacted and did things. And I knew I wasn't going to be wanting a relationship or anything. But eventually, when the conditions were right, I did find I wasn't looking. It just so happened that my husband and I met, and then he was much in his masculine. I was definitely tapping into my feminine, and it just worked so much better. The
Oh,
relationships work so
yeah.
much better.
Oh, they absolutely do. It's like night and day. When I am so much in my masculine, I can see my husband completely shifts. And yes, and you know what? We as we grow, as we mature and realize, what our values are. This is key, right? To choosing a partner. It's like knowing what your values are and connecting with that. Like, are we in alignment with what we want, what we need, what we want in the future? And so what you did there was beautiful, of like realizing, okay, this is what I want, these are my values, and then I'm going to choose someone who is in alignment with my values, right? And let go of the one that wasn't, because you realized that wasn't healthy for you.
Yeah, it's like you had to die kill that relationship, and then have yourself die, and your ego die, and then move on, and then just see the light. And there's so much light out there once you're really connected to your spirit and to your feminine divine self, I feel. And it's just amazing. But
Yes.
for me, so I have a lot of guests. Hey, maybe I have some guests here that have experienced this, but a lot of listeners that have actually quit drinking, and they're working on themselves right now, just like how I was working on myself. And now they're starting to feel like, hey, I really want to start dating again. How can they attract a man in their feminine energy? So, in other words, what qualities should women embody to attract a partner who is genuinely ready for commitment?
Yeah, that's great. One of the things that we just talked about was values. Like, know your values, know what they are, know your non-negotiables, right? And really commit to you. Put yourself before any man. When you go out there and date, get to know the men, observe them, yet don't commit to any of these men until they give you the full commitment that you desire, right? So really know what you need in a relationship first and foremost. And I think that's the beauty of connecting to your feminine energy, because once you do, it creates this clarity, right? It creates a clarity of like, oh, this is how I want to feel in my relationship. This is the type of men that I want to be with. And once you do that, then it's easy to realize, okay, is this man someone who I really want to be with, or is this man not in alignment with what I want? And so it's easier to let go of the wrong relationships then, because you're so committed to you and what you want, and you put your desires first, right? So I feel like
Absolutely.
that makes it easy to attract the right type of men your way.
Yeah. And what are some common mistakes do women make when trying to attract a committed partner?
I find that a lot of us, myself included, I've seen myself doing that, is that we rush into the relationship, right? We rush into the relationship. We kind of create a fantasy of a man instead of really getting to know him. So it feels like we have this like speed car, and we go on, and we want to get to the finish line without getting to know the person really, right? And so when we start realizing who this man really is, there's a lot of disappointment, because he's sometimes not the right guy for you, right? Because you've gone too fast. And then that's the disappointment that comes in, and you're like, well, what happened here? I thought he was so perfect, but that perfect man was just your fantasy. So I feel like a lot of us, what we need to do is really look at the man and say, like, who is this man? Get to know him, and then make the right judgment of like, okay, this is who I really want to commit with. And take your time, slow it down. Just take your time, date different men, get to know them, and then see if this, who steps up for you, who gets to give you that committed relationship that you desire, right? Don't just give it away.
Yeah, you're so right. And set your boundaries too. Don't let the man just like, oh, let's go, let's
Absolutely.
go, let's go. We can talk about that as well. Like, can you explain what it means to set boundaries, but like in a feminine way?
Yeah, so I feel like we're not taught how to set boundaries in a feminine way. We're taught to set boundaries in a very aggressive way, or we have like that, our brains are wired to, like, the fight, flight, or freeze type of thing. So we do
Mhm.
one of those things, right? We like, like for me, my tendency is to like run away. Right? And for
Yeah.
some of us is to shut down. And so it depends on what your pattern is. And that's what you start noticing with your feminine energy. Start connecting to yourself, and you start noticing, like, oh, you know what is my what do I do, what's my pattern? And then start breaking that pattern down into, like, okay, when I do get triggered, then how do I stop that, and change that, and really connect with myself. And that gives you the clarity to know how then to communicate with a man, right?
Right.
Because when you know what your triggers are, and you start connecting with yourself, then you can really find the words in you, right, within you, instead of being aggressive, instead of shutting down, instead of stuffing it away, right? You can communicate it in a way that really connects with them. But this takes time, and it's a process. And so don't kick yourself, ladies, if you have, one of these patterns and you don't know what to do. Don't worry. Just like take it step by step. And the first step is just noticing, hey, what's my pattern? What do I do when I get triggered? And then learn different ways of communicating with a man, right? So
Mhm.
I used to call my my partner names. That's something that I don't do anymore. I understand that that's not a very nice thing to do. I don't want to be called any names. So, catching yourself doing that and being like, oh, wow, I don't want to say that. I want to communicate it in a way of like, I feel, I want, right? Instead of you did this, you did that. So the blaming, the criticizing, right?
Mhm. Yes, they always say when you're pointing the finger at the person, there are 3 others pointing back at you. So
Absolutely.
you can't be blaming all the time, What I do, one trick that I've done in the past, well, all the time, whenever I'm feeling a little bit upset, I said, okay, excuse me for a moment while I go ahead and I give myself a timeout until I cool down. It's like, okay, why am I feeling this emotion? Because I'm trying to observe, like, why am I feeling like this? Why is it bothering me? And then I kind of go within, like, okay, what's really going on? Why are you really feeling like this? And
Yeah.
then after I talk to myself, yes, I talk to myself, my spirit, and God. And I'm like, okay, now I can go ahead and communicate. We come back together, and now I can communicate better without me then, because I used to do the same thing all the time too, like calling names and stuff. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I have said something when both of us are arguing at the same time, and I'm like, meh.
Yeah, it happens. But it's a matter of catching yourself and realizing, whoa, I can be better. I can be a better
Yes.
partner, right? And so, like you're saying, I love that you're like, I really connect with myself. I really ask myself like what's going on. One of the most important questions that you can ask yourself when you get triggered is asking, what does this mean? What am I
Mm,
making this mean? What am I making whatever he said, whatever he did mean about me, about the
mm,
relationship? And is this ultimately true?
mhm.
And then you come, because we create stories, right? That's what triggers us. It's not really what he does or what he doesn't do, but it's more of like, what story, what meaning did I put into this?
Yes, and it's a matter of reframing our mindset too, like because it's how we tell our story. Words are very powerful. Whatever we speak sometimes can just then exist afterwards. And so I have to be very mindful, like, okay, what am I saying? Do I really mean that? No, I don't mean that. I have to say and I do ask myself this question too, like, what am I supposed to learn in this process whenever I'm feeling triggered or upset or feeling emotion? And don't get me wrong, these emotions happen and it's part of being a human being. It's part of the human experience. Like sometimes I just get sad for no reason. I'm like, oh no, why am I sad? I don't know.
Absolutely, we're human, so it's
I
like
don't
it's
know.
like a soup. You kind of have to look at your soup of emotions, and
Yeah.
and they're all part of it. It's like the broccoli, the carrots, and there is nothing bad to have these emotions. We just do. We're human. We get to have them, and they tell us something. They're telling you something at that moment. Maybe you feel sad and you need, more love from your partner, or maybe you need more love for yourself, or but we make it mean things, right? Like, oh, I feel this, and so this is because of that.
Right. I know. Once both are in their masculine and feminine energy, it just works out. It's beautifully how it's like orchestrated. It's like it's fluid almost. It's
Very
a
fluid, yeah.
beautiful thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, one suggestion probably be like when you're finding a man, and you're ready to commit to a partner, really look is he in his masculine energy? Because sometimes they may not be all there. It's, of course we all have both masculine and feminine energies. That's just natural. It's just part of the yin yang thing. But it's like, are they who you want? Are they who you see yourself with? Like, as far as like you mentioned, the values and everything, they all come together. And that's something that I actually was looking at when I was single. I was like, nah, nah, not this one. No. But then
Yeah.
when someone was talking to me, which was now my husband, I'm like, there he is.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's just really seeing a man for who he is, and see, is he in his masculine? Is he able to provide for you in the ways that you want to be provided? Is he able to support you in the ways you want to be supported? Is he able to love you the way you want to be loved? Or at least, what I see a lot of us, that I feel like a lot of us should be doing, is like, is this man open to learning about you and how you want to be loved? Like, that's one thing that I love about my husband, like, that he is so open to learning, because he's human. So we all, like, we're all, working on ourselves, and he's just so open to learning how to love me better. So when I know, when I'm in my feminine and I'm able to communicate those things, he will go above and beyond to do those things for me. And that is a partner. That's a true partner, right? And so that's what we have to look for, a person that's open to learning and want to give you that. And I feel like men just want to make you happy. Right? A good man, that's all he wants to do. He just wants to see you happy. That's it. That's all a man want. Men are really simple. They're not as complicated as we are.
Trust me, us women, ooh, it's like one motion we're like hot, and then we're cold, and then we're hot. I know, I go through all of these emotions, and our hormones don't help. It's like I think we're have our periods and pregnancy hormones and then menopause hormones. It's like, oh, all these different like things happen to our bodies. But as long as we know who we are and who our true spirit is and where we come from, it's all good. Then I'm like, you know what? It's part of it. It's in how I respond to things as well. Now, I want to talk a little bit about the power of vulnerability here, because being your authentic self is the key, I think, into just living here on earth now. Like, it is how to live is just to be yourself. And like I was talking to you before about the whole conditioning, we were conditioned. And I think people just didn't know who they were, and now are just discovering who they are because they had time to pause and slow down, like you mentioned, and really self-evaluated. And I'm going to tell you a story. So when my husband and I, when we were just going on a dinner date, and we just kind of get to know each other, he, we actually met during street ministry when we were both serving the homeless, and we were on different teams, but we came together because I knew his son, because I was also doing children's ministry, and I loved his son because he was like my son's age almost, so it reminded me of my son. And so it was nice is that when we went out to dinner, I told him my testimony exactly. I think I just told him everything. Nothing was hidden. I was just like, this is me. This is where I am. This is who I was. This is who I am now. This is who I want to become in the future. And he was so fascinated and loved it so much. I was thinking either this guy is going to like say, okay, I'm out, or I'm going to, oh, okay, this person seems very interesting. He loved me so much more by me just telling the truth about myself. So how do you define vulnerability in the context of a relationship?
Yeah, so being vulnerable, that's a big one. And that's a really scary thing to do for a lot of us women, because like you said, we were not conditioned to be vulnerable. in the world, right? Even in our families, I found like myself, having to not share my feelings because that was not a thing. Because if I did, oh, you're too sensitive, right? So
Mhm.
we are very much conditioned that way, and so I feel like it's so important for us to be vulnerable, and in a way that the reason why you want to be vulnerable is to connect, right? But a lot of times we're also when we are trying to be vulnerable, we end up making the mistake of we kind of vomit on people. That's how I want to describe it, because it's like this like outpouring of things that you kind of want to, you're kind of putting it onto someone instead of sharing. So the true vulnerability is of you sharing and connecting,
Mhm.
right? Not of you trying to vomit on someone's of whatever you're going through. So just notice how you communicate with someone, and honestly, vulnerability, when you do it the right way, it really does connect you. It really does connect you, and it doesn't have to be like this like really like strong emotion, or some story that you have to share. It could be something simple as, it felt so good to go for a walk this morning. It was so refreshing, right? It felt so refreshing to me. Well, that's already like being vulnerable. Or right now it's raining, and oh my gosh, I feel so at peace seeing the rain just come down. I
Mhm.
could feel that. I could really feel that. So it doesn't have to be this like whole story. It can be simple. So if you're not used to being vulnerable with people, because a lot of my like the clients that I have this issue, and I've had it myself, where I didn't even know what that really meant. What does it mean to be vulnerable, right? And it's about sharing your fears, your dreams, your true emotions. Like, how do you actually feel in this moment? And that's being authentic as well, right?
Mhm.
But start with baby steps. We're not going to take it too far. Just little baby steps at a time. And you will see that by doing that, you're going to get to that point that maybe you were at when you met your husband, and you really share with him, because you were at a different stage
Yeah.
where you were just so open to being vulnerable with this man. And that's another thing that you can do with men as well. As you start being vulnerable, just see how they respond, because
Mhm.
that's going to give you clues as to what type of man you're dealing with. If he's able, he has the bandwidth to really hold that space for you. Wow, that's something, right? But if he doesn't, if he runs away, that's a sign. You already know that's not going to be a good one.
Yes, I heard that a way to spot a good man, or just to observe if he's a good man or not for you, it's like, okay, how is he around animals? How is he around children? And how is he around other females? Like mother or sister or something like that. And they said observe that, and then if you get an idea, then how he's going to be treating you.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because then you start like noticing, and this is why it's so important to date. And it's so much fun. I find like dating is one of the most, like, I found it to be the most exciting and fun time. But I know a lot of us have gone through struggles. It's not easy to be single sometimes, because we're going through our own journey. And we don't know, like, that's I feel like that's the biggest struggle for a lot of us, is because we don't know when this thing is, when we're actually going to meet our partner, right? So there's like it's like all darkness. It's the unknown. It's like, what's going to happen? When is he going to show up?
Yeah, a lot of my friends are always like, and these are male friends from like a long time ago. They're like, when am I going to find the right person? I'll never find the right person. I said, well, with that mindset, of course you're not going to find the right person, because you keep on saying you're not going to
No,
find the right person.
exactly. Like, we are all attracted to positive, happy people. We are, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so when you go out there, you do have to think of yourself as, yeah, I am Beyonce, and I'm going to be attracting beautiful men my way. Like, everywhere I go, I attract men, right? So it has to be a shift, like a winning mindset. That's what it is. It's a winning mindset of like, I get to have what I want. My desires are in my heart, and they are going to come true. Having that faith, oh my gosh, it's going to do so much for you. So that's the very like beginning of your journey of like really having faith, like that man is out there for you, and he is available, and you just have to meet at the right time, right?
Yeah, because sometimes it is not the right time, and that's okay. that means something better is going to be happening in the future. And so that means like work on yourself a little bit more.
Yeah,
Get
keep
to
doing your thing, getting to know yourself, and I feel like when you are able, once you figure it out, like I did, then I was able to attract a better partner for myself. And I was also able to work with my partner along the way. So know that everyone's journey is different and that your man is available for you, and he's out there. You just have to keep going on your journey, keep falling in love with the process, keep
yeah.
falling in love with the process over and over again. And I know it can't, it's not easy all the time because we interact with men, or we go on dates that are not the best, and we're like, oh, we're jaded. But like, keep that positive mindset of like, it will happen and it is available for you.
Yes, and really start falling in love. The more you love yourself, not in an arrogant way, but more of just like a spiritual way, you'll definitely attract the right man for you, because it's really going to be a reflection of yourself. Of who you're attracting is a reflection of yourself. So the more you work on you and love yourself and get to know yourself and have that relationship with yourself, I think it's a lot easier it is to find that relationship to your like dream man or dream partner.
Yeah, yeah. It's like you fall in love with yourself and other people will fall in love with you. That's what happens, right?
Yes,
So
yes.
fall in love with yourself, and then it's inevitable. You're gonna attract so many other people your way that you're gonna just feel like, oh wow, where were these guys before? Where were these men before? They just
Right.
honestly, they just come out of like, I don't know where they're hidden, but they are there. We just don't see them,
Mhm.
especially when we are so caught up with, one guy, focusing on one guy that is not giving us what we want, right? All our energy is going to that guy instead of on ourselves. But if you just shift that, all the energy back to you, you're going to see that so many other men are going to just start coming up, and they're going to start showing up, and you're not going to know from where they're just going to start showing up for you.
Yeah, because everyone's like, well, where do I meet the right person at? Like, who knows? It could just be random. It could be at a park, just while you're walking around the lake, and then there's someone who just says hi, and then maybe there's just a conversation that starts. You just never know. You never know.
No, absolutely not. And that's the beauty of it. I feel like, you just never know. But you can put yourself in those, situations, in those places where you can meet more men. So, you can put yourself in the driver's seat of your love life. And this is, you use your masculine and your feminine, right? So your feminine, it's a beautiful energy, and keep doing that. But get yourself out there as well, and put yourself in places where you are likely to meet more men. And start thinking of like, what places do the men that I like, the type of men that I want, where would he go, right? Is he like, would he be at the library, would he be at networking events, museums, like where would he be going, right?
I love that. Yes, because it's like, where would you go is where he will be at. So,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, because I met mine in church. So, yeah, and I
there
was
you
going
go,
to church
see.
before, and it
And
worked out,
it
you
worked
know.
out, and I met my husband in salsa dancing.
Oh, neat. My mom would
Yeah.
love that. She loves salsa. Actually, so a funny thing is my mom and her husband now, because she remarried when I was like 17 years old, and love my stepdad. He's great. He's a Puerto Rican, and she's American, but she's Mexican blood. So she loves like salsa dancing, and he loves merengue. And so they met at, oh my gosh, it was somewhere in San Jose, because I live in San Jose, California. Club Miami. Yeah. So Club Miami,
Ooh.
they met there because they love to dance. Now, 25 years later, they're still in love and happy and still dancing at parties, not Club Miami, but because she's
Oh
like
yeah,
in her
they're
70s
down with
now.
that.
Yeah. But they have so much fun. So yeah, it really is what you're interested in. You go there and then you'll find somebody.
Absolutely. Yeah. Look at your interest, and make sure that, yeah, there's gonna be like for you a church. That's a wonderful place to meet a man, right?
Yeah.
Like your mom, like a place where you go dancing is exactly that's exactly where you want to position yourself. Like where could I have fun? Where could I be meeting more people? Where can I be interacting? And also you're learning a skill, or you're learning a beautiful faith. You're giving it to yourself, and it's something that you needed at that time. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Now let's talk a little bit about what you take your clients through, your process. So if I were to go ahead and reach out to you, what would be the first step you would do?
Yeah, normally what I do with my clients is that I talk to them in terms of like where they're at. I have to meet them where they're at. So depending on what I see the patterns are for each client, right? So that's where I work with. So I have, let's say, for example, I have one client recently who she wanted to be more open and more playful, and she was like, I feel so closed off and it's really hard for me to even like be flirty or interact with men in that way. So what we're working on right now is just getting her to be a little bit more flirty, more fun. And so I give her tools. We do a lot of role playing with my clients, so then they feel confident when they go out there with the men. They feel ready to practice with them. So that's a bit of the journey that we go through, and it's very tailored because it's one-on-one coaching. Is very very tailored to my client, depending on what her patterns are, what she wants to work on, and what goals she has in terms of our time together. So that's what we work in. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now, if any of our listeners want to go ahead and find you, where can they follow you?
Absolutely. You can find me on all social medias at Lylian Toscano, or you can go to my website. I have a free feminine energy guide there that you can just download. And it gives you a few tools and a sense of what it feels like to be in your feminine energy. So that's just liliantoscano.com, my website. And yeah, and we can always connect on any social media. I love getting, DMs or questions. And I do a lot of content with that as well. So if you ever have a question about something, and I can always do something for you, like a little video or something.
Oh, that is so cool. I
Mhm.
love that. Oh, well, any last thoughts or anything else you'd like to share?
I feel like what I really want to say to your listeners is, just baby step it all the way, and don't ever blame yourself for anything that's not going right in your relationship. Allow yourself, like, give yourself so much love and compassion, and get the right people to support you, to coach you, and you'll see that baby step by baby step you're going to get to where you want to be. And it's about becoming that woman, right? It's not really because a lot of times we focus so much on getting the men, or finding the men, and what we really need to focus on is on becoming that woman in order to attract that type of men.
Yes, 100%. Well, thank you so much, Lillian. It's been a pleasure having you, and you gave so much value. And I'm sure the listeners are just going to be like, yes, I need to slow down and I need to love myself more and I need to become that woman. Thank you so much.
Thank you.